It is your boy, Shawnee Sean, and we got another episode of Free Agency with me. Hope you are able to enjoy the ride as we get things going. I am also on YouTube, so check me out there. We are going live on YouTube and TikTok. It is NFL free agency is still going on, and we've got not really that many moves to report on, if I'm being completely honest. But I wanted to highlight some of the best available free agents on the market right now. If I would have to guess, I'd say Amari Cooper is one of the premier pass catchers available on the market right now. Asante Samuel Jr., the cornerback from the Chargers, is also available. Eagles just picked up Adoree Smith a couple days ago, so they are pretty much all set at CB. Jedrick Willis, the offensive tackle, is a nice player from the Browns who is still on the free agent market. I just mentioned Amari Cooper, the wide receiver, who is a free agent after being traded to the Bills. Had a decent little run there, but looks like he is off to potentially greener pastures. Speaking of Bills, Rasul Douglas, the cornerback, looks like he will be leaving the Bills. Cam Robinson is also a free agent from the Vikings. So be on the lookout for where these guys might land. Definitely some good opportunities. A lot of good wide receivers still available. But they're definitely moving on a little bit more into the draft season, as free agency has definitely cooled off a little bit the past few days. We will see how things shape up, but most of the first round of free agency has gone through, and a lot of teams at least have some of their biggest holes filled. Danielle Hunter signs with the Texans on a 1-year extension. So the defensive end will make $55 million in 2 seasons. Derek Stingley Jr. Is also probably pretty happy as a Texan and gets a new contract and a lot of guaranteed money. And that LSU team from 4 years ago is really getting paid. Joe Burrow got paid, Jamar Chase got paid, Justin Jefferson got paid, Derek Stingley got paid. Who knows? Who knows who's next? It's going to be like the water boy who's going to get a 6-figure contract, it seems like. But congratulations to the LSU Tigers. They are one of the best college football teams that I saw 4 years ago, with Joe Burrow having that perfect season and winning the Heisman. And Derek Stingley is definitely one of the premier cornerbacks in the league right now. Him, Sauce Gardner, Jalen Ramsey still up there. Magan Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are also stud muffins. So it's definitely nice to see some young cornerbacks starting to take over the league and make a name for themselves. What else is going on? Texas signed offensive tackle Cam Robinson. I think I mentioned earlier that he was one of the better remaining free agents, but it looks like he actually signed with the Texans. So the Texans had a very busy day today, signing him to a 1-year deal. They traded away Laramie Tunsil to the Washington, so it'll be interesting to see how they pick up the pieces. Another big announcement today is that Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, and Kirk Cousins are all going to be featured on season 2 of Quarterback on Netflix. So stay tuned for that. I believe it's supposed to premiere in July. So that should be pretty fun. I watched a little bit of the first season with Pat Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and I want to say Desmond Ridder. So that was pretty good. I really liked the wide receiver show, which was, I guess, a similar show but different position. I thought that was a little more entertaining, especially since they had George Kittle, who isn't a wide receiver but a pass catcher and an extremely entertaining personality in the NFL. And it was cool to have him and Debo be teammates on that Netflix show. I believe they also had Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe Devontae Adams, and like 2 or 3 other guys. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check out Wide Receiver and Quarterback on Netflix. Both of those shows have been pretty entertaining. Yeah. Oh, here it goes. The Wide Receiver version had Devontae Adams, Debo Samuel, Justin Jefferson, George Kittle, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah. So I think I mentioned pretty much all of those guys. But Joe Burrow is, went to a Super Bowl and is one of the premier quarterbacks in the league, and will definitely give us a little bit of an insight to the Cincinnati Bengals locker room, especially with those guys that just got paid, and especially with the Cincinnati Bengals putting up like 50 points a week. And Jared Goff and the Lions are a fun team as well. I'm not so into Kirk Cousins. He's definitely sort of in the twilight of his career, but we'll see. Pat Mahomes is still probably the best quarterback in the league. It hurts to say. I think Josh Allen's up there in the top three. Jalen Hurts, I think, definitely has to be in that conversation at this point. After winning a Super Bowl, getting to 2 Super Bowls, and just winning games, it's not always put on his shoulders, but I think Jalen Hurts is definitely a top 5 guy at this point. But Lamar is up there, and yeah. And, Jared Goff is definitely having a good couple seasons too, but I wouldn't put him in the top 5. Maybe top 10 or 15. Kirk Cousins is in that 15 to 20 range probably, maybe even further. So we'll see. There's no denying that Jalen's at least like a top 8 quarterback, bro. I see you chill broccoli in the comments. So I'd love to see you name at least 3 to 5 guys better. I named Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Burrow. Jalen Hurts is better than Justin Herbert. He's better than Jordan Love. I don't know who you're throwing up. He's better than Kyler Murray. But let me know what you think. Get some cool stuff on Fanatics. Let's see what's going on in the Twitter sphere. T-Pain signed with the Giants. That's pretty cool. What's happening with Stefon Diggs? He is trending. The Patriots are hosting Stefon Diggs on a free agent visit, so stay tuned for that. They could definitely use a wide receiver 1 since they have like 3 wide receiver 2s and 3s. I like the signing of Backpack Mac, and then they got Jalen Polk in the draft last year. But we'll see how the Patriots shape up. It definitely looks like they want to get some weapons for Drake May going forward, and they also have a top 5 or 6 pick this year, so it wouldn't be too surprising if they went for like Tet McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona, who's got a crazy catch radius. And then Luther Burden the third is also a pretty nice wide receiver prospect out of Mizzou. And who knows, maybe even Travis Hunter is there and can play both ways for the Patriots. Play a little cornerback, play a little wide receiver. Vrabel could be that guy to get him in all those positions. Jalen Milroe ran his 40 today at the Alabama Pro Day, and it was pretty fast. I think he had like a 4.37 40-yard dash, which is probably the fastest in this year's quarterback draft. Definitely looked pretty good. He's my sleeper quarterback in this year's draft, I'd argue. A lot of people are talking about Jackson Dart being maybe that third guy, but I actually like Jalen Milroe as my third guy and Jackson Dart as my fourth. But Shindor is my number 1 guy, easy, and then Cam Ward is good, but I am not super confident about him in the NFL level. His release is super great, but his footwork is very disappointing for me. Love the 40-22. Check out the music video on YouTube. I made a remix to Taylor Swift's song 22 about the Eagles' Super Bowl score against the Chiefs. Jaden, I definitely did sort of miss from the, we'll call it top 10, but definitely not a top 5 quarterback yet. Has to do it at least 2 seasons. Same thing for Stroud. Love me some Bo Nix. I was super high on Bo Nix last year. I love the marriage with him and Sean Payton. But again, with any of the rookies last year especially, they have to do it at least 2 years in a row before I put them in my top 5 for quarterbacks. And, Jalen just won a Super Bowl and is just a consummate winner no matter how. I know he might not, he's got a beautiful deep ball, but might not have the most accurate or run the ball, the prettiest because he's scoring touchdowns on tush pushes. But I disagree with saying that Bo Nix and Stroud are better than Jalen right now. But that is why we have this live and go and argue with each other or something. I definitely like to see it. And I think it's Malachi Starks is the Georgia safety. I wouldn't be so surprised if the Eagles drafted him. Let's see, Malachi Starks. I spelled that so poorly. William Malachi Starks played at Georgia. Yeah. So I expect the Eagles to draft him if he's there at the bottom of the first round. Let me know what team you have. More mock drafts are coming out, so it's at least starting to get an idea of where some of these guys might fall and where they might ball. In Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock draft, it looks like he has Cam Ward going first to the Titans. I don't know if the Titans are going to draft a quarterback, but Cam Ward is probably the safe bet to go number 1. Abdul Carter is probably the best defensive player in this draft. Pass rusher from Penn State who grew up in Philly. Really like him, but he's nursing an injury. Says he should be fine before the draft and going into the draft, so I'm not too worried about that. Hurts is the worst throw on run percentage. I do not know if you can back that up, but I appreciate the heads up. I'm pretty sure he's actually pretty good under pressure. But he's also looking to throw. If the Steelers don't take Dart, it will be the biggest draft mistake. Yeah, I mean, if Dart's available at 22, that's huge for the Steelers. That would be a steal. I also like them to potentially look at Jalen Milroe if he falls that far. But at the same time, they might take a swing on Aaron Rodgers or another swing at Russell Wilson. But if they go with Dart, Mason Rudolph is probably the nice pairing there. Would be a good backup semi-starter for like a couple games. Sort of show him the ropes. And, he's had some experience in that offense already. But I like the idea of Dart connecting with another Ole Miss alumni in DK Metcalf and George Pickens. It would be a fun, exciting thing, and I hope that Rodgers goes to Minnesota and follows in the Brett Favre trilogy of where they go, but we'll see. Another great prospect is Travis Hunter, which in this mock draft is going to the Patriots, which I was alluding to a little bit earlier, saying that it would be awesome to see him play offense and defense for Vrabel. And they could use a good wide receiver and a nice piece on defense. So with Travis Hunter going to potentially the Patriots, I think that's one of the rare occasions where he might actually play more offense than he would defense, where in the NFL it seems like he's mocked to play more cornerback and then be put into some offensive packages. But with the Patriots in particular, I think that he would get some snaps on offense. He's going to the Giants. He'll be trapped and never leave New York. Yeah, that's what I thought about Saquon, dude. And now he's a Philadelphia Eagle. But I think that it would be an awesome landing spot for him on the Giants, but also a sort of waste of his career, just because he's not really going to, it's like having a Lamborghini at a trailer park, I feel like I always see those Instagram memes every once in a while, so I like that. metaphor in this particular situation. Jalen Walker is probably one of the best pass rushers, not named Abdul Carter, in this draft. He is mocked to go to the Jaguars, according to Daniel Jeremiah. I like this fit. Definitely would pair up nicely with their Josh Allen and Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker. So the Jacksonville Jaguars would definitely have a nice little pass rush to pair up with their offense with Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr., who's one of my favorite rookies from last year. I was hyping him up a lot, along with Malik Neighbors, because I thought that was one of the best wide receiver duos that we've seen in a little bit. And yeah, the Texas has a pretty nice combo of wide receivers coming in this year's draft with Worthy and Ford, but I'm pretty sure Texas has also reloaded for Arch Manning, and they have just a ridiculous wide receiver corps coming for the next couple of years. So Texas has just been producing really good wide receivers and really fast wide receivers over the past few years. Xavier Worthy came out last year and ran the fastest 40 in combine history with a 4.2 or 4.19. Deion Sanders is draft 40 was sort of unofficial, or the technology wasn't quite as good as it was or is now, but Deion Sanders definitely ran like a 4.2. Dude was a lightning bolt. But his son's pretty good, and so is Travis Hunter, so I'm excited to see where these Colorado kids go, and the rest of these NFL prospects. Ashton Jeanty in this mock draft goes to the Raiders, which is a lot of fun. I would love that. He seems like he would be a great Raider, running on the blue field to then just wearing the silver and black. I feel like it would be a weird personality combo with him and Brock Bowers, but him and Geno would be a nice combo. And Ashton Jeanty is probably the best player available on the board there. And I think the Raiders aren't afraid to take the best player, especially now that they have at least some stability at quarterback with Geno. They have his former coach and Pete Carroll coming in. So the Raiders actually have a lot of stability going forward. I'm really excited to see how they progress. Tom Brady's, I guess, in the ownership, and I don't know if it's a conflict of interest sometimes when he's announcing the games, but it seems like the Raiders are in are headed in the right direction. So I'm excited, and it would definitely take a lot of pressure off Geno Smith adding Jeanty, and spark some offense into the Raiders. They definitely could use some wide receivers though. But yeah, New York Jets in this mock get Armand Membao, who is an offensive tackle out of Missouri. I'll be honest, I don't really know much about him. And Mason Graham is projected to go to the Panthers. Again, I haven't done too much offensive line research. Jahad Campbell is the linebacker out of Alabama, and he is currently projected to go to the Saints at the 9th pick. That would really shore up their defense and go well with the safeties that they've added and Chase Young. And the Saints could definitely improve their defense. Purdy, quarterback for the Steelers. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure the 49ers are going to pay Brock Purdy a lot of money. That's part of the reasons why you see the 49ers starting to fall apart. They lost Ward, they lost Greenlaw, they traded away Debo, they cut Juszczyk, and then I think they re-signed him, so it's good to see that he's still there. But they were even considering trading Ayuk, so they're definitely preparing to pay Purdy all of the monies, and we will see if that affects them long term and affects their playoff contention, because the 49ers do not look as scary as they did a year or even 2 years ago. So we'll see. Yeah, I feel a little bit bad for Pickett as well, but not really. He won a ring with his hometown team that he rooted for. And now he potentially gets another opportunity to start in Cleveland. I think that Cleveland will likely add another quarterback, whether it is Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, or a kid in the draft like Jalen Milroe or Cam Ward. Who knows? Cleveland definitely is going to add another quarterback, but Kenny Pickett definitely will have an opportunity to compete. I don't think he's that good. Seeing him in Philadelphia over this season, he looked pretty bad in, I guess, garbage time against the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was a Kelly Green game, and then, he got some snaps in the Super Bowl, which is pretty valuable for any quarterback, even if it is in the fourth quarter when your team's up 30 points. But I digress. Eagles are Super Bowl champs, 40-22. It could have been 34-0 if you ask me. But anyway, Matthew Golden is projected to go as a first round receiver. This seems a little early for me, especially since they didn't have Luther Burden go yet. And I think Matthew Golden's like my fourth or fifth wide receiver, so a little surprising to see him go 12 to the Cowboys in this mock, but I digress. Cowboys could definitely add another wide receiver. They were rumored to be in the Cooper Kupp sweepstakes, but I digress. He signed with the Seahawks and is now pairing up with Sam Darnold, which should be a nice combo. I think it was a little silly. I think that the Seahawks would have been just fine sticking with Geno. I understand that they maximized DK Metcalf's value and got a early first or second round pick. So I can't hate that, especially since the Seahawks could use another wide receiver, and it's going to be a little crazy of a pairing with him and Pickens. But Seahawks definitely have still one of the better defenses in the league, a pretty good offensive line, 2 good running backs. So it'll be interesting to see if you are able to plug and play Sam Darnold and have a similar season to what he had in Minnesota this past year, since he sort of revitalized his career similar to how Baker Mayfield did in the past. And kind of funny that the two of them were teammates in Carolina just a couple years ago. Malachi Starks in this mock draft is apparently going to the Dolphins, which would shore up their defense and their secondary. They definitely can use it to hold offenses to lower scores. I don't know where I'm going with that. But Malachi Starks, I hope, will fall a little bit. He's my dream pick for the Philadelphia Eagles, the safety out of Georgia. That is really dreaming since the Eagles are just adding Georgia defenders left and right. They just got like 2 guys in free agency with Azeez Ojulari, and yeah, they already had 4 or 5 Bulldogs on that defense in Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Keely Ringo, Nakobe Dean. I think they had 1 or 2 other guys. So it's really ridiculous how much, I guess, Howie Roseman loved that defense, and I think the Eagles are doing a great job with Azeez Ojulari signing in particular. I think that's a low risk, high reward signing. I think they're only paying him $5 million on a 1-year deal. He's pairing up with a lot of his college teammates, and he's betting on himself, going with a division rival, and hopefully can potentially win a Super Bowl or make a name for himself and get paid next year. But moving back on to this mock draft, Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan, is probably one of the best tight ends in this draft. Big wide receiving tight end who can also block pretty well. He is mocked to go to the Seahawks, since we are already touching with them already. And that seems like it's just the best value on the board for them, and definitely gets another pass catcher to support Jackson Smith-Njigba and Cooper Kupp right in the middle of the field. So could be that missing piece. I think the Seahawks did actually sign a guy at tight end pretty recently. Don't quote me on that. I might be getting them confused with the Broncos, because I know the Broncos got, I want to say, Evan Ingram. But yeah. In this mock, the Broncos are actually going for Omarion Hampton, the running back out of UNC, who's a heavy hitter, one of the bigger body guys. And, they just lost their running back who signed with the Cowboys. And Miles Sanders also signed with the Cowboys. So we'll see if they even add another running back. This is a pretty good running back draft in general. There are like 3 or 4, we'll call it first, second round guys, and then another wave of running backs that are also pretty good. The two running backs out of Ohio State are really good in Quinshawn Jenkins and Travion Henderson. We already mentioned Ashton Genty, and now with this latest guy in Omarion Hampton. And then I think the Virginia Tech running backs pretty good, and Ohio State, or not Ohio State, I already mentioned them. Iowa State also has some decent guys. But in this mock draft, we were alluding to it a little bit earlier, but Jackson Dart goes to the Steelers. I love this as a landing spot for him. Jackson Dart would potentially pair up with Mason Rudolph or Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. It's really curious to see what they do at the quarterback position, because I imagine that the Steelers will get a guy in free agency and in the draft. In the draft, Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe are my favorite quarterbacks to land there, but only time will tell. In this mock, they also have Tet McMillan falling to the Chargers, which is a great landing spot for him. I think he's going to go top 15, so I don't think that he's going to fall this far in the draft. I think he is the best pure wide receiver in this class. So it's kind of weird to see in this mock draft that they had Ford and I think one other guy. But Luther Burden, I guess, has fallen in here. Same thing with Emeka Ibuka, who is the Ohio State wide receiver, who's very similar to JSN. Josh Simmons, the Ohio State offensive tackle, is schemed to go to the Kansas City Chiefs, which would make a lot of sense since they lost an offensive lineman in free agency and would like to shore up their O-line. And for the Eagles in this mock draft, they have Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. That might change considering that they just got Azeez Ojulari, I would expect. But the Eagles do love building in the trenches, so it wouldn't surprise me, but I personally would like Malachi Starks if he fell. But again, that might be wishful thinking for me as just a Birds fan getting excited for mock draft season. But the Eagles have Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith till 2029. That's pretty remarkable that they have that offensive core for the foreseeable future. Definitely check out more Eagles content on my page and on YouTube. How long have I been going here? For a little bit. I don't really see. Oh, it's been a fucking hour. An hour or half an hour. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, I appreciate you guys sticking around. I think we are going to call it a night in a little bit, but we can go on a little bit longer, see what else is going on around the league. Not much in the Twitter sphere. Let's see what is trending on Twitter right now. Anything football wise, it's really just Stefon Diggs potentially visiting with the Patriots. I mentioned that a little earlier, so if you are just tuning in, Brandon Graham also retired. Just a big spark there. Philadelphia Eagle the other day, yesterday, did it pretty cool fashion, hanging his Super Bowl cleats on the Rocky statue, then had a speech. So thank you for an amazing NFL career, 15 seasons with the Birds. All with the Birds is pretty remarkable to be on one team for your entire career. And pretty wild that the Eagles really wanted Earl Thomas at the time. I mean, they did need a safety. I think it was right around the time that Brian Dawkins was retiring or left to the Broncos. So it would have been nice to get his replacement. But Brandon Graham had an unbelievable career. Went to 3 Super Bowls, won 2. Had, I think, like 6 Pro Bowls, 72 career sacks, second most games as a Philadelphia Eagle, and a remarkable career and various schemes and still produced. So thank you for your service. I think we are going to wrap this up in a minute. Let's see what's happening in the draft world. Cam Miller deserves to be in this draft. Great thrower, great running ability. He's the North Dakota State quarterback. I don't know anything about him. But yeah, what do you think would have happened to the Bills if they didn't trade Mahomes in 2017? Yeah, they might be a totally different franchise, honestly. They probably would be competing for AFC championships on an annual basis, but at the same time, maybe Josh Allen goes to the Chiefs and marries Andy Reid, and then, the Chiefs still have that perfect marriage. Because the Chiefs were really set up for any quarterback. I thought they were going to get Deshaun Watson at that pick. I was super surprised when they took Mahomes because I thought Deshaun Watson was the clear quarterback one in that draft. I was wrong. That was I think the 2017 draft in Philly. I was there. It was a lot of fun. I don't think either of those guys actually attended. Deshaun Watson might have. But it was pretty cool. I have some fond memories of that. The Eagles drafted Sidney Brown and Rasul Douglas. It was cool for Rasul Douglas to go be an Eagle since I was a West Virginia alumni, and that's where he went. And then he went to the Eagles, and right now he is a free agent, but also had some time with the Packers and Bills. So stay tuned for where Rasul Douglas signs. I think this is going to wrap things up, but I appreciate you guys tuning in. Follow Shawnee Football for more football content. I will definitely try to go live a little bit more, especially with some more draft content as we get closer into that and as free agency is just starting to die out. Huge fan of Travis Hunter. Would love to see him go to the Raiders, Giants, Patriots. Those are probably the three most exciting teams. Although the Titans would be pretty cool at number one also. But yeah, follow Shawnee Football and get some cool merch and all your favorite NFL merchandise on Fanatics. Helps the channel, helps me out. Send some loves, hearts, gifts. I don't know how that stuff works, but I don't know. TikTok wants me to encourage you to do that. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Let's get a sound bite and then